throughout all my life, I have had asthma. And so, if I get sick with like a sinus infection, it can very quickly develop into bronchitis. And typically in those instances, it's a little more difficult to breathe. So I will be prescribed steroids, a 6-day course of prednisone. And yes, I'm going somewhere with this, so bear with me for a moment. And one time, many years ago, I was kind of bored and I was looking at the little insert that comes with the prednisone at the side effects. And it says one of the side effects is potentially frank psychotic episodes. And that phrase, frank psychotic episodes, stuck with me ever since then, because I've always wondered, like, what does that look like? What exactly is a frank psychotic episode? Well, I found out this week because Marjorie Taylor Greene was kind enough to demonstrate to the entire world what a frank psychotic episode actually looks like. And she did it while attacking fellow Republican Lindsey Graham. Here's what happened. Lindsey Graham decided to falsely tell the country that, we've got to do whatever we can basically to give Israel all the weapons and, the destruction they want to do. We have to enable it. Lindsey Graham said this. I am tired of the word genocide. Let me tell you about genocide. If Israel wanted to commit genocide, they could. That's a horrible thing to say. And it's a very stupid thing to say, by the way. They have the capability to do that. They choose not to. Agree to disagree on that. To people in my party, I'm tired of this crap. Israel is our friend. They're the most reliable we have in the Mideast. They're a democracy surrounded by people who would cut their throats if they could. This is not a hard choice if you're an American. It's not a hard choice if you're a Christian. A word of warning, if America pulls the plug on Israel, God will pull the plug on us. No, I don't believe that for a second. And for the record, neither did Marjorie Taylor Greene. And here's where her little frank psychotic episode came into play. Because instead of responding to this like a normal, rational person thinking calmly and explaining things in a cool manner, Marjorie Taylor Greene decided to get on Twitter and say this. And this is a long one. She basically wrote, a short story about how pissed off she is. Senator Graham confidently says the quiet part out loud. If Israel wanted to commit genocide, they could. They have the capacity to do that. That is quite a statement and is an acknowledgement that nuclear-armed Israel is more than capable of defending themselves by themselves and not only defeating their enemies, but completely wiping them out. So why is America funding them and fighting for them? We should not be. And it is not a matter of supporting either Israel or Hamas, as he suggests, which is ridiculous. It's about supporting America. Now listen, if that was the end of it, that's not a bad statement, right? I mean, she's right. Like, hey, Lindsey, if they have these capabilities, why are we over there doing this for them? Why are we sending them all of our weapons? Why are we sending them all of our money? You point out that they can do basically whatever they want. They don't need us. We need to focus on America right now. We got some pretty big issues. Again, if she had stopped right there, this would be a very different video. But she didn't. That was just the introduction, folks. Now she gets into the meat of it. Lindsey Graham has no children. I'm sorry. I love that. It's just so random. Like, she goes, it's about supporting America. Lindsey Graham has no children. I have 3 adult children who are 22, 25, and 27, which gives me a fierce invested interest to be all in to save America. You don't have to have kids to have a vested interest in America, okay? Having kids does not make you worth more or less as a human being, and that is a very petty and stupid thing to say. And don't worry, she gets even more petty and stupider. And now we're a nation in $37 trillion in debt because of the nonstop votes and funding for foreign countries and foreign wars and bloated budgets and pork and waste for over 30 years, which is how long Lindsey Graham has been serving in Washington, D.C. And the gross negligent consequences of America's last decisions by most politicians in Washington, D.C. has not only chained all of us and our future generations in debt, but eroded the value of our dollar, driven out of control inflation, making life completely unaffordable, and is destroying the middle class and turning my children's generation into the working poor, which pisses me off, she said in all caps. Whew. Okay. She goes more, and I can't even do that anymore because I can't. Here's the thing. She actually makes some good points. Believe it or not, I'm going to give her credit. She made some good points. But when you say them like a psychopath, it's difficult for people to take those good points away because you just sound crazy, right? When you have an all caps thing that's quite literally in the middle of your little rant here that says, which pisses me off, you lose credibility. And that's Marjorie Taylor Greene's problem, always has been. She doesn't know how to control her rage and anger because those are the only emotions she has. Have you ever seen Marjorie Taylor Greene like genuinely happy? We've all seen her with a fake smile. We have seen her go totally off the walls bonkers, but you've never seen her genuinely sustained happy, have you? She is an absolutely horrible, miserable human being who hates her own life, clearly, and so she projects it onto others by being a total bitch. I'm sorry, there's no other way to say that. She's so miserable in her own life that she has to make everybody else miserable as well. So that's something she needs to work on, especially if you're going to put out a post like this. Because again, if you had been calm and rational and actually stated your points without getting personal, without getting, hyperbolic like you ended up doing at the end too, you actually could have had a good point. Now, where I definitely do disagree with her, obviously, is on this isolationist policy that we can only do things in America for America. We have allies across the globe, real allies that are not committing genocide, that do need our help, like Ukraine. Marjorie Taylor Greene wants nothing to do with it. Let Ukraine stand or fall on its own. We have allies in Europe that may call upon us someday. Allies in Africa, allies in Asia, allies with Australia, right? South America. There are times when, yes, the U.S. aid and assistance is in fact necessary, and I am not in favor of fully cutting that off for now and forever. I think that's very dumb because that actually does endanger us, Marge, but you're not bright enough to connect those dots, that the security of our allies is the security of us. I do agree with everything else you said about, U.S. involvement in Israel. This is getting out of hand. This is ridiculous. And I do believe, they're committing genocide. And that's not to say that the Israeli people are doing it. It's the government. And yes, there is a world of difference between those two things. But if you're going to make a point, try not to do it while you're also having a psychotic episode. Thanks for watching, everyone. We're inching closer and closer to 1 million subscribers, and we're aiming to hit that goal before the year closes. So if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please do so, and don't forget to like, comment, and share. Thanks for joining us as we head towards this huge milestone.